hopefully, folks, the microphone is better today. I noticed in a couple of these latest Rumble productions that I seem to be coming through the computer's microphone instead of this fancy microphone here. And so I went ahead and made some changes. Hopefully that's going to work. Hey, I'm really excited about ending October and launching into November. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but I just got to be honest with you. I had a couple of ups and downs through October, and my personal energy was a little bit low. And I was like, I'll just force my way through. I'll just push. Nothing comes without effort, right? And then so you tell yourself these things, but in reality, um, I needed to pull back just a hair, and so I did. Last week, pulled back just a little bit, got a little bit of extra rest. There was a couple of days where I was just like, you know what? Nothing's on the schedule. Let's just chill, man. Just chill, relax, cut yourself some slack. And I'm pretty sure it worked. We are diving into November, and we're pretty excited about it. Now, before I unveil, so the folks that follow me that are in power sports, that might maybe own motorcycle dealerships, that follow my whole separate vertical, which is about power sports training, right? How we increase parts and labor sales through our power sports partners. Um, I've got an announcement for them. Okay, but I'm gonna hold that a little bit until the end of this live. This live will not be that long. Thursdays are my live days. I've got a lot of things going on. So I've got the WP-Tonic show. I've got the two shows for Lifter LMS, and obviously I got to maintain our own customer flow here at the agency. So there's Thursdays are big days for me. So I'll try and keep this a little bit short. One of the things that I wanted to cover was these shows. We continue to get involved. I say we're a very small team, and then I say we because I also participate with other we's. Track me on this. I have been doing the WP Tonic show for years now. So, it's more than a hobby. I'm actively participating in doing this show on a weekly basis for years. Now, the WP Tonic is great. It's been around, I think, 1,100 episodes or something like that, or 1,000 episodes. We also do a show called the Membership Machine Show. And so the Membership Machine Show we record on Tuesdays. The WP Tonic show we record on Thursdays. And they're both very different shows. One is informational and one is interview based. Now, this last week, we interviewed Imran Siddiq. In fact, let me pull up a screen share for you here. I believe it's going to be this one. And let me share that and go to this part of the screen. Should be able to see that. Yeah. So Imran Siddiq right here. This guy is, I just love this guy. He is not in somebody else's pocket. That's one of the things I really like about Imran. He runs an agency. He makes really good content. Web Squadron is the name of the YouTube channel. You can go check him out. If you're in the tech space or agency space, or let's just be honest, business space, he is a great person to follow and to try and gather some wisdom from. And like I said, he is not in anyone else's pocket, which makes it really, really cool to listen to him, because he's not saying, hey, use this hosting because it's the best. Meanwhile, he's cashing a check from them every month, right? He literally just produces content based on his opinion and his experiences, and it's really kind of fun to jump into that and to see what he's doing there. Now, if you want to see the other shows with WP Tonic, I'm going to go ahead and show you this screen. You can see he breaks them out into playlists. And so the Membership Machine Show, I've been a part of that for over a year. Our last show on how to leverage social media was really kind of cool. We talked about school before that. We talked about, hey, what's it like to use YouTube to make a membership channel versus having your own membership website? And so we talked about that. We talked about high level versus WordPress CRMs. I mean, we cover a lot of things. And you can see here with the WP-Tonic show, the interview base is strong. So it's a really fun time. All right. So we knock that out of the park. Now, let me jump into a different channel, and this is going to be Chip Webster. Me, did the Manana No Mas podcast with Chip Webster last week. I think Monday is the day we actually published the show. And so we recorded it last week. I think we published it on Monday. Chip Webster, fun guy, really fun guy. And if we take a look at this, it says episode 111. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. Not many podcasts get past 10 episodes. I didn't realize that when I started my podcast like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. In fact, I've said this multiple times. I almost shut the podcast down. I almost said, you know what? I'm done with this. It doesn't get me any benefit. I don't even know who's watching this thing, blah, blah, And so I almost turned the podcast off. And then I went to WordCamp, 2023, 22, whatever. I went to WordCamp and people were like, hey, I know you from the Manana No Mas podcast. When I did a stint for BRP and I was traveling for BRP, the motorcycle company, I was in Texas at a dealership. And the owner of the dealership told the general manager, hey, whatever this guy recommends, just say yes and I'll cut the check. I've been listening to his podcast for 3 years and he knows what he's doing. And so based on those experiences, I was like, I can't just turn the podcast off. In those couple of instances, it led to relationship, it led to revenue, it led to, like direct application stuff, right? And so I have no idea who sees this show from all the different links and the places that it goes. I think that the metrics, the analytics for these shows is very difficult to track, and people rarely leave comments. So I'm going to throw this out to people that are watching this on Rumble, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. Put in a stinking comment. Let me know if you saw the video, if you like the video, if you hate the video. But it's when we don't get the feedback, it makes it really hard to make changes or to get better. But like I said, I almost turned off the podcast, and now here we are looking at episode 111. So, responsible citizen. This guy, Chip, almost 80 years old. He told me on the podcast, hey, I'm almost 80. He has a book that he wrote called Unity in Service. And that book is about being a responsible citizen. And I almost didn't have him on the show. I almost said, you know what? I don't think I can put you on the show, Chip, because I don't want to make my show overly political. People that know me know that I have an opinion, I have a stance, I have certain things. In fact, in some circles, I am the conspiracy theorist. I am the conservative guy, which is weird because I don't know. I look at it like the way I look at my faith. Everyone that knows me knows I'm a person of faith, but I'm not smacking you over the head with a Bible. Like if you're gay, you're gay. If you're hey, you made a choice. I made a choice. That's fine. Now let's talk about this website we're building, right? Like I believe there's more to us than our thinking. I believe there's more to us than we have family members that are on the other side of the aisle. You can't have a conversation with them anymore because they just consistently beat on and drone on and complain and say crazy things. And it's like, can we talk about something else? Didn't you want to remodel your kitchen? Do you want to paint the porch? Do you want to wash your car? Like, is there anything that you want to talk about other than complaining about what you think you heard somebody say? And so I almost didn't have him on the show. Turns out, phenomenal conversation. Great conversationalist, really, and did a really good job of not over politicizing his stance. He has ideas, he has concepts. He wants to encourage people to vote. He wants to encourage people to volunteer at the local level. He super nice guy, like easy conversation. I really think that if you get the opportunity, it would add value to you to listen to episode 111 of Responsible Citizen. All right. Um, there, I'm off the soapbox for that one. Off the soapbox for that one. Now, I have seen people I know, people I have conversations with, people that I have private messaging with, people I admire, people that I think are smart, people that, in most instances, I'm like, hey, I'm with you, I'm with you. I don't know what's going on this week. I don't last week, 10 days. They have posted some vitriol, man. They have gone after the Orange Man in a weird, very strange, um I don't want to say psychotic break, but it's like, oh, look at this moron, and how many times has he been married in his bankruptcies, and he's unethical, and he's this and he's that, and going on and on and on. And I don't know if it's because of the report on the auto pen, and how the report they did with Biden said he had lost all of his faculties, and that he wasn't running the government at all, and that these pardons and these executive orders, he wasn't even aware of them, and they were signed at a crazy rate by the auto pen. And so now they're talking about possibly disallowing all of these things with the auto pen. And I can see where, if you thought the administration under Biden was doing great altruistic things, and then someone else came along and said, no, that's void, I'm going to get rid of it. I could see where, you know, so if you believed that, like, I try to put myself in other people's shoes. I can see how you might get upset about that. But I keep going back to this. People are still angry that we have President Trump as a president. I mean, the guy brokers peace in the Middle East, and they hate him. He strikes a deal with China for rare metals, and they hate him. He attempting to broker peace in the Ukraine and Russia. I think doing a better job than Biden did just sending our money over there. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Um, and they hate him. They hate him. Uh, he has the White House thing I struggle with, right? Because, like, it's our capital, and you see the destruction, you see the East Wing coming down, you see, and everyone's losing their mind about it. But then they post up old construction pictures of how Obama used taxpayer money to build a basketball court. Well, how is playing basketball going to be taking care of hundreds of dignitaries at events? And the thing to get to, the people are missing is, let's say the White House wants to have a big event, a big ballroom event. They don't have it, right? So they have to have it somewhere else. And then it becomes this giant logistical nightmare with security and the venue and everything that goes with that. And now they can just do it right at the White House. Not now, but when the ballroom's done. So he raised money, got donations, built the ballroom. Now, what's funny to me is, when you look at the list of donors, it's a name list that you would typically see catering to the left. So that, to me, is incredibly revealing, right? It's like, well, your loyalties are only your loyalties until you figure out you might be able to get an in somewhere. And that's business. That's just the way that things work. But what I go back to when I see these giant complaints about Trump is, what choice did they give us? They didn't give us a choice. Kamala wasn't primaried. She wasn't elected to run for president. She didn't qualify at all to run for president. Her term as vice president was one of the craziest runs in vice presidencies that I've seen in my lifetime. That was lunacy. And the Tim Walz character that she picked, who in her own book she says she regrets having picked Tim Walz. Like, if she has regrets about Tim Walz, what would our country have faced with Tim Walz. So it's like she herself didn't like Tim Walz. I can't wrap my head around this whole idea that everyone is so angry at what Trump is doing. But when we go back in time and we look at what they were trying to offer us, a country that was not run by a president, that was run by AutoPen. We look at that. We say, here's a country that's not being run by a president. It's being run by a committee of unknown people with access to an AutoPen. And then you want us to vote for this woman that she didn't even get 1% of the primary when she was running against other candidates to become president. She didn't even get 1%. And then Biden said, these are the reasons I'm going to hire her as the vice president. Not because of her skills, not because of her track record, not because of her, endearing qualities. He flat out said, I'm hiring her for vice president because of DEI. He said it. I'm not saying it. He said it. And so when we take a look at that administration, and then we take a look at this Pierre lady and her book and the shenanigans going on with I'm no longer a Democrat. Like lunacy. People are mad because Trump won the popular vote, got in office, and is executing on his promises, which most of us are super happy about. Most of us are like, yeah, awesome. This is great. This government shutdown thing is one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen. It's for them to say, "Oh, we're not going to open the government unless you decide to send trillions of dollars off to other countries." That doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't make any sense at all. I can't wrap my head around it. I go back to this. There are things like oh, you're a MAGA, you're Trump, you want to brand us. I guess brand us because the names don't matter anymore. I mean, honestly, that the name calling has lost its effect. But I always go back to what was the option? What was the option? You you gave us no other options. There was Kamala and Tim, and there was Trump. Like if Vivek or somebody else could have mustered more energy and gotten down to the vote at the end, I think maybe there could have been a different result. But my goodness, I cannot believe that we are looking at what's been accomplished with Trump. And again, I go from a global perspective, right? World peace in the, not world peace, but peace in the Middle East and peace here and peace there. And, he says, well, I stopped 8 wars. Did you stop 8 wars? Probably not. Okay. Let's be real. But our influence in these spaces as a country has helped in these spaces. And I look at what was happening under the other administration. Wars were breaking out, and we were sending money to help fund more war and doing things. And so I really struggle. I really struggle with the whole thing. Um, am I completely happy with Mr. Trump? No, there's some things he does I'm not so thrilled about. But I'm critical of almost every boss I've ever had. Like when I was corporately employed, my boss did lots of things I wasn't happy about. And so I got to be super realistic about it. Is somebody in charge, is somebody in position going to make me happy 100% of the time? No, it's not going to happen. But am I happy that Kamala and Tim, am I happy that we don't have them in office? I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic that we don't have Kamala and Tim. Even the post-election stuff, when these people had no pressure on them and could have recouped their reputations, when they could have, I don't know, hired some consulting to improve their image somehow. They could have tried to restore themselves after the election. And Tim is nuts. That guy is a lunatic. And Kamala just doesn't seem to have two nickels to rub together in her brain. So am I happy that we have Trump over those two? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't know why I went off on that crazy tangent, but it's been coming up. It's been coming up like crazy. And so here we are, 20 minutes in. I want to make sure I get to this before we end it. Um, I promised at the start of this little episode, at the start of this live, I promised that I would unveil what we're doing with the Power Sport Academy. So for those of you that are power sports enthusiasts that follow along in that space, let me throw up this presentation here. This is the Power Sport Academy. This is where we teach motorcycle dealerships how to increase their parts and labor sales. And not just that, but we teach them about communication. We teach them about leadership. We do process development with them. And typically, dealerships that work with us, we've seen a 47% increase in parts and labor sales. But that's not it. It's not just the money. It's improved internal culture. Like when the shop's making money, technicians don't want to leave, right? Service writers don't want to leave. Service managers tend to stay. And so there's a whole lot more to this than just selling parts and labor. It's about restoring the core. It's like restoring the core of the business. And so we have the Power Sport Academy. The Power Sport Academy is the vendor that does the fixed operations teaching for Hero Hub. So Hero Hub and Dealer Hero, they've contracted with us, and we do this set of courses for them in a condensed, like 3 to 4 month boot camp. In fact, we call it a boot camp. Okay, but and that's a great value. Like if you're in for if you want a condensed, budget minded, like group training situation, the Hero Hub offer is the best offer you're going to find, period. So again, if you're in the power sports industry, go to herohub.com, hook up with those guys. It's a 20 club organization, and they get access to our training that way in this boot camp. However, if you go direct through the Power Sport Academy, we work with dealerships one-on-one. And so your people are going to take the getting started in service class, the how to increase customer retention, how to build teams. We're working on a parts efficiency program right now that we hope to unveil in 2026. Phones as a sales tool, and then our main course is the fixed operations course. That's what we spend the most time on. But we also cover KPIs, key performance indicators. And here's where I don't want to go too far off the rails, right? And talk about all the things that we do. Here's what I want to talk about for now. When you see the pricing for the training, like we train a whole dealership for a whole year on this curriculum. We do live coaching, live consulting. There's homework, there's assignments, there's quizzes, and there's a certificate at the end, right? We offer them a certificate when they complete. This is an annual process for us. So I want to be like super, super clear. Like this is not some walk in the park. Okay. This is a real thing. This real thing per store is like $44,000. So people go, oh my God, $44,000. That's a lot of money. You're getting a lot of value. And think about this. Let's just use round numbers. Okay. Round numbers. If your service department did $1 million in sales last year, and you experience the average increase of 47% increase in parts and labor sales, that's almost $1.5 million that you're going to do the next year. So if you're going to make an extra $500,000 in revenue, you can spend 40 grand to get there. Now you got to put in the work, right? You got to put in the work. You got to be flexible. You got to make some changes. There's going to be things that'll come up in the training. It's simple things like the way you flag work for technicians, the way you submit warranty repair orders, the way you communicate with the OEMs. We cover all of that. And so I want to make it like super, super clear. If we go to this membership catalog, you're going to see that we have, individual packages, then we have team packages, and then of course we have the stuff we do for Dealer Hero. But let's take a look at the team packages. If we go to the team packages, there's a monthly way to go, or you can pay annually. So if we come down here, you're going to see, per month, it's just a little over $4,000. But if you pay for the year, it's $45,000, right? $44,959. Folks, I can't stress this enough. If you come to this webpage tomorrow, these prices are going to be substantially different. If you go for the monthly process, it's going to be 25% off, right? So 25% off. So it's going to be like $3,000 a month, round numbers. Again, I'm using round numbers. But if you decide to prepay for the year, we are not only going to extend, the normal, like if we take a look at this 48, 42, oh, wait a minute, that's like almost 10% off. Yeah. So if annual costs 41.69 per year, 45,000. If you go, man, I'm just going to sign up for the year and prepay for that, we're going to give you 40% off. That'll be automatically done tomorrow. So if you sign into this website, no, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, November 1st. I'm sorry. Look at me going. I'm getting excited. That's what it is. But if you go to this on November 1st, these prices are going to be different. And so we're doing this for the whole month of November. The sale launches November 1st, right? Say it right here, right? The sale launches November 1st. And I'm excited. I'm super excited. Here's why I'm excited. We are getting great results with Hero Hub and working with Dealer Hero. And that part's awesome. Um, but when we get to work with a dealership, the group dynamic with Dealer Hub is awesome. The group dynamic with Dealer Hero, the group dynamic with Dealer Hero is awesome. Multiple dealerships, you get to bounce ideas off of each other and do different things. That's great. Okay. But when you come to the Powersport Academy directly, I'm working specifically with your people every month for a year, and we're going over all this content at a deeper level. And we're really doing a lot of this live consulting, and we do it remotely. We do it on Zoom. So you don't have to, worry about travel expenses, hotel, rental cars, stuff like that. We do all this. Now, once dealers complete this program, once they complete the program, they become eligible for on-site coaching. If that's something where you're like, if you're a dealer owner and you're like, man, I just really need someone to come by and work with my people. Okay. Yeah, but let's get them trained up to a baseline first. Like, you don't want to pay a consultant $3, $4, $5,000, to come visit your store, work with your people for a couple of days, and then leave. Because what's accomplished? Not much is really accomplished. But if we work with the team and we build up their knowledge base and we build up their processes through our program, and you elevate the performance of your team to a certain level, well, then you bring in a consultant and you get to the next step, right? So that's that. I'm super, super excited to be able to offer. And I should be clear, if it wasn't for Hero Hub and Dealer Hero and the relationship we have with them, I probably wouldn't be in a position to say, yeah, I'll work with your dealership and give you 40% off. Like, let's just be real. That probably wouldn't be the case. So I'm super thankful to work with Dealer Hero and Hero Hub in that way. And I love doing the group training with them. That's awesome. I go back to it. I'll say it again because I'm not afraid of this. If you would rather like quicken the pace and get the highlights and get into the boot camp, sample the content first. There's never going to be a better deal to train your people than the deal that is with Jared and his team over at Hero Hub. I mean, the pricing is just phenomenal. It's an amazing package. Plus, you get exposure to the rest of the Hero Hub network, right? They got training for marketing, they got training for sales, they got training, like all kinds of things. We just do the fixed operations training for them. And so they got a great package over there. Phenomenal. But if you know that your dealership struggles in fixed operations, if you're one of these guys that says, if one more customer calls my cell phone to complain about service, I'm going to sell the dealership. Like, if that's happening to you, you need to hook up with the Powersport Academy. We can help fix that. And yeah, it's an investment, but My goal is to make sure that everyone that makes an investment at least gets to 10x their investment. And so let's see what we can do together. I think that is where I am going to wrap things up. I'll even start the music again so I close out like a real show, like I know what I'm doing. Have yourselves a great Thursday, and if you follow us along on WP-Tonic, today is the WP-Tonic Roundtable Show. Join us live and drop your comments.